Hi, I'm Steve Wahlberg, back again for another short video. It's about 25 degrees outside in North Idaho. It's very cold, so I'm heating our house with wood. That's the way we keep ourselves warm. I've got my dad shirt on. My kids gave this to me on Father's Day that says, Dad belongs to Seth and Abby. In our home, we teach our children the importance of keeping God's commandments, especially the fifth commandment. And I've asked Abby to come into the shot here, my 11-year-old sweetheart, and to read a Bible verse, which is she's going to read the fifth commandment, or part of the fifth commandment.
It's Exodus 20:12. Honor your father and your mother.
Okay, perfect. That's it. And we teach you to do that, don't we? We do. And Seth, I'd like you to come in. Seth he's been recently reading a little bit from Patriarchs and Prophets. And there's a chapter in this book called The Law Given to Israel that talks about the Ten Commandments. And Seth's going to read a sentence that illuminates the fifth commandment. So Seth, why don't you do that?
On page Patriarchs and Prophets, page 308, it says, "It also enjoins respect for ministers and rulers, and for all others whom God has delegated authority."
Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay, kids, I appreciate that. You've done a good part. I've been impressed with the fifth commandment. And what Seth read says that it also has to do with authority, respecting authority among rulers and ministers and all to whom God has given authority. According to the Bible, God has given authority to parents in the home, father and mother. He's given authority to teachers in schools. He's given authority to his church as well. In our church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, authority is divided up. We have authority in our local conferences and in our unions and in our divisions and in what's called our General Conference, which makes decisions where delegates from the world field come together and make decisions on major issues. And the General Conference is the highest authority in our church. And for some of you, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that we're having sort of a tug-of-war right now within our denomination on the issue of ordaining female pastors. During 3 General Conference sessions, this issue came up before our world delegates who voted, and they voted not to approve women being ordained as ministers. And there are some within some conferences and some unions and some divisions that don't like that decision, and they've decided not to go along with it. And so how do we, as church members who are supposed to respect authority, which is what God's law tells us to do in the fifth commandment, how are we to relate when we have a conference or a union or a division that doesn't agree with the General Conference? My conviction is that in that situation, we should follow the highest authority. It's a little bit like what's going to happen in the future with our government, when the mark of the beast is enforced. We know this from the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and 14, that the mark will be enforced by law, and nobody can buy or sell unless it goes along with the mark. Now, Romans 13 also tells us that as citizens, we should respect our government and the authorities that be. But when it comes to the issue of the mark of the beast, when government enforces the mark and tells us to violate our consciences, and in that final crisis, it will have to do with the fourth commandment. And at that point, we as believers in God, believers in the Bible, believers in Jesus, we need to follow a higher authority, which is God's government. So in that case, we don't obey the government. And it's the same thing in the issue within our church right now, that if somebody in a conference or a union or a division decides that they don't want to respect the world church and the votes that have been taken on the issue of women's ordination, my conviction is that we should follow the highest authority, which is the General Conference. Now, that does not mean that we no longer respect the conferences, the unions, and the divisions. Think about our government. When the mark of the beast is enforced, that doesn't mean that we all of a sudden stop respecting government. It means that in this particular area, we do not go along. We are not compliant with the government seeking to force us to break the fourth commandment. And it's the same thing with our conferences and our unions and our divisions. I believe that the Adventist Church is a world church, and that God wants us to respect his world church, and that includes authority within the conferences, unions, divisions, and the General Conference. But in this tug of war over this particular issue, my conscience tells me that I should respect the highest authority, which is the General Conference. If you have an interest in learning more about this topic, we have a website, which is godsremnantchurchdivided.net. I've written an ebook on this, and we have a lot of information on our website that you can watch if you are so interested. It's getting hot behind me. As I'm sitting here, I can feel the heat. It's coming from this fire. And I tell you, it's going to get hot in the days ahead. And God wants us to keep cool, to have cool minds, to follow the 10 Commandments, to follow the 4th commandment, to follow the 5th commandment, to follow all the 10 commandments as we wait for Jesus to come. And it's very possible that God is testing us now on the 5th commandment as we prepare for the big crisis on the 4th commandment. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll probably do more of these in the future. So God bless and stay warm.